What I should have learned from Thomas Jefferson in civics class in high school, I learned from Joe Strummer. Question authority.
Henry Rollins was born on February 13, 1961 in Washington, D.C., and was the lead singer for the punk band State of Alert before becoming famous as the frontman for Black Flag in 1981.
When I was a young person growing up in the 1970s in Washington, D.C., I was, as Hubert Selby, the great writer, used to say, I was a scream looking for a mouth. My insecurity and my questions and my curiosity and my hormones. Punk rock really helped me.
As an electrifying singer, Rollins became known for his frenzied performances, appearing barefoot and shirtless on stage. After the breakup of Black Flag in 1986, he formed the Rollins Band and appeared at the first ever Lollapalooza.
I have not a great deal of memory of my performances in Black Flag, and it's not for the reasons that you think. No, I was not knocked out on drugs at all. I was so, like everyone else in the band, I was so in the moment of that music. I couldn't tell you what the show was like a week later.
Under his own record label, Rollins released his first spoken word album in 1992. And 2 years later, he won a Grammy for Best Spoken Word Recording for his album Get in the Van, and was named Man of the Year by Details magazine.
I started doing talking shows, as I call them, in 1983 at the behest of a local promoter in a Los Angeles club. And so one day, this promoter fellow said, hey, Henry, you're always at these shows. You got a big mouth. Why don't you get up there next week? I'm like, oh, I don't know. And he said, we're paying $10 each. I went, I'm in.
With his increasing popularity, Rollins branched into films like Heat, Johnny Mnemonic, and Lost Highway, and hosted shows like MTV's Alternative Nation and VH1 Legends.
I'm a work slut. I can't handle inactivity. And so when the movie guy comes and says, hey, you want to be in Attack of the Bugs 5? Yeah. Henry, it's not exactly a streetcar named Desire. And I'm not exactly Brando, so I think it's a perfect fit. And so between tours, I auditioned for the TV show, the film, the voiceover, whatever Hollywood is slinging that week. And I go out there and make a fool of myself for the best of them and try and get that job.
By 2003, the Rollins Band became inactive. But that same year, Rollins started touring in Iraq, providing comic relief with the USO, and became an outspoken activist for veterans, human rights, and the West Memphis Three.
I ended up doing 7 very intense USO tours, Iraq, Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kuwait, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and probably a few others that are escaping me, and Bethesda Naval Hospital, where you meet these amazing young people who have been severely injured. I met some extraordinary people in some very intense environments. As I always say, never easy, always worth it.
After hosting a weekly radio show in 2004, Rollins wrote a series of books called Fanatic, based on his show's playlist. 5 years later, Rollins started a new radio show on KCRW and continues his run as a writer and guest star on shows like MTV's Jackass, Californication, and Sons of Anarchy.
I've had quite the soapbox, if you will. And when they open up the microphone and ask a question, they might not like the answer, but I'll tell them what I think is the truth. And so I have a reputation as someone with a big mouth, and I disagree with that. I'm just someone who's fully aware of the power of the First Amendment.
In 2011, Rollins began writing a column for the LA Weekly newspaper, and 2 years later he released the book Before the Chop. As a post-punk Renaissance man, Rollins is well regarded as a commentator, critic, writer, and tireless entertainer.
I am insanely in love with what I do, and I would like to think I could keep working until I literally keel over. I mean, if someone said, it costs you $500 to do that show tonight, I'm like, Pierre, I really want to get on that stage, take it. There's a lot of people, I think, in this line of work that they really enjoy what they do, and they're just really in love and obsessed with what they do. I count myself as one of those.